What's going on, guys? I am Chase.
It's your boy Patty Rick.
Guys, today we are driving around in this awesome 2023 Nissan Z Performance.
And we are going to try to find out if this thing is true to its roots or a total flop.
With a drive.
All right. Can I just look at it? I just want to look at it.
No, we're driving it.
Oh, we got to drive. Oh, we get to drive it?
We do have to drive it.
Yeah. New Nissan Z.
I basically got us this car so I could show it off to my wife. Let's get it rolling.
Let's do it. Of course, the rain starts.
Fun begins here.
Oh, it makes good noises.
We love that. Hey, Pat, what's making us good noises today?
So in this Nissan Z, not a 370Z, not a 350Z,
and if you're on the internet, it is not a 400Z.
Not a 400Z.
We have to talk about that.
We're going to talk about that. But this is a 3-liter twin-turbo V6. It is front midship. What that means, the engine is in front of the passenger compartment, but it is technically the majority of it behind that front axle. This 3-liter twin-turbo V6 produces 400 horsepower at 6,400 RPM.
Okay.
Which is plenty for a car
that's kind of high in the RPMs.
It is high in the RPM. This engine really encourages you to rev it out. It's a very rev-happy engine.
Okay.
It's kind of very similar to motorcycles where you're going to build all your power.
Finally, something I'm used to.
That being said, 350 pound-feet of torque from 1,500 RPM to 5,500 RPM. It's like a flat torque curve. It's really weird. I really enjoy it. That boost comes on pretty early in the rev range, and it just pulls like a freight train. I
have only driven it around the parking lot, so today should be interesting. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so that's engine, that's horsepower, that's torque. What type of fueling are we looking at as far as MPGs and gas tank?
So gas tank is right at a little over 16 US gallons. Okay. Fuel economy, they claim it's 18 city, 24-ish highway, I believe. We're seeing about 22 combined.
Oh, that's not bad.
Kind of right on point with the EPA estimate, what Nissan says this guy should get. And that engine and fuel economy numbers are done via this really great 6-speed transmission. So it's a close ratio 6-speed, but that 6 gear is really long, so it's perfect for highway cruising.
That is noted. We do have the manual option today. When Nissan was like, which option would you like? Oh, that truck. And that's why we have the 360 camera, because now you guys can see what we saw, where that white truck almost slammed into that ambulance.
Yeah.
Would that be ironic?
Would have been Akko Taco.
So we got the manual, so thank you, Nissan, for the loan on the Z.
Because as we know, we got to save the manuals. And this transmission is so good. The synchro, what do they call it? The synchro match downshifting. Okay. This little S mode button here on the center console is so good. Now, an S does pop up on the gauge cluster. You think you're in sport mode. This car does not have modes.
Patrick knows that because when I got in the car and I drove around the parking lot and I came back, I'm like, what does S mode do? He goes, I know it says S mode, but it's about shifting, not about the power delivery and the engine mapping and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it is just the auto rev downshift. It's so crisp, it's so good. Nissan's been doing it for a long time in the 370Z.
When I found out that it does the auto blipping for you, I was like, bro, thank God, because the whole heel toes thing, I don't understand it.
Yeah, and I can heel toe pretty well depending on what shoes I'm wearing. Today's shoes are not the correct shoes for that particular activity.
We don't have a shoe cam, sorry guys.
No, we don't. I wish we did though.
The tires lit up, my God. Dude, it literally went chip, 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 chip.
Yeah, so even with the traction control on, this guy's got enough power to trip those rear tires on a good launch like that.
It literally killed a parakeet.
So we're going to call it from now on, killing parakeets. All right, so the kind of the only other stat we have on this guy that we think is super, super important is going to be your brakes. You've got 14-inch rotors on the front. They're huge. And you've got a 13.5-inch rotor on the rear. Both very, very big. It's got 4-pot calipers up front and a standard slide caliper on the rear. But man, they work. Those 4-pots are plenty. It's nothing like the NSX, but she will stop extremely well.
Absolutely. They are not small.
Yeah. And then the tires are the Bridgestone Potenza S007s. You know, GoldenEye, obviously. Gotta throw it.
Anything with 007, I'm sold.
They are the silent type high performance summer tire, so it's not an ultra high performance tire.
Okay.
It is designed to be quiet on the road, which is great. It makes this GT car even more of a GT car. And they're plenty grippy. You've got a 245 in the front and a 275 on the rear, so it's a staggered setup. And there's plenty of grip, even though it does chirp a little bit on a first gear launch. They're great tires. I'm a fan.
I'll take your word on it, because all I know is we didn't fly off the road, and I'm stoked about it. Let's move into interior feel. We're in a, what's the MSRP on this guy?
So you're looking right about 53 as tested. So this is a performance model. So we've got those bigger brakes, we've got the raised alloy wheels that are beautiful, and a couple little exterior bits and bobs here and there, give it a little bit of a different look. But interior wise, we've got this really nice leather wrapped steering wheel, the leather shift knob and shift boot. I really like it. It's very driver focused. It's classic because we've got the big dual 2 gauges when the digital cluster's in normal mode. We've got the 3 gauges on the dash, so your turbo boost pressure, your turbo speed in RPM, which is kind of interesting, and then your voltmeter, just so you can keep an eye on your battery voltage.
It is kind of cool how those little dials on the top are kind of focused towards you. Like, I can barely see them from the passenger.
Yeah, it's very driver focused, which is very cool, and I love the feel. The seats are pretty comfortable.
I would say the seats are comfortable. The only weirdness about the seat is there's a lot of bolstering on the side, but when I sit in the car, I can probably, just because I'm not good at it, the seat bolstering goes right up my crack.
Getting in and out is, again, easier than some other cars that we've tested, but
no, for sure. But I haven't got my groove going into the seat. So as far as the touching materials, we got like leather pieces here, nice stitching. I'm here for that. Yeah, I get like a mid-grade vibe in here. Yeah, it's not like, ooh, this is super nice.
Yeah, it's not going to be a luxury kind of interior, but it is nice to touch and feel. And again, I think it's very comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Is a great word for it.
Is your arm placement kind of weird when you're in the passenger seat, or you haven't been in the
I've not been in the passenger seat yet. So
the arm placement here is a little strange.
Up high, it's a little weird. I think you'd like it. This is how you typically like your arm. From a driver's point of view, I don't ever do that when I'm driving. Especially something that's sporty, I like both hands on the steering.
I'm definitely that type of like cruisy boy, so we'll see what that's up. What do you think about the shift knob?
I love the shift knob. It's really round. It's very similar to like the Subaru shift knobs that we see on a lot of those manual transmissions. So it's a good 1.5-inch ball. You push down to go to reverse and things like that. But
yes, you have to push down to go into reverse. I was stuck in the shop parking lot for like 10 minutes, and then I eventually was like, Pat, how do I go back? And he was like, you got to push down. And I'm like,
down and to the right.
Okay, cool. Like I know
manual car things. Yeah.
So yeah, seats are, like we were saying, like I feel like the seats are a good halfway point of like a regular comfortable seat. Yeah. With like decent bolstering. Yeah. To hold you in place.
I think like what this car competes with is going to be like the BMW M2, something like a Camaro SS, a Bullitt Mustang. It would be very similar to even like a Toyota Supra. They're very similar price points, similar engine power. They're almost the same power to weight ratio between those three, actually. But I feel like of the BMW and like the Camaro, I think those seats are more sporty, so they're less comfortable.
So as far as the center dash and the controls, what do you feel about those?
I love all your AC HVAC controls are physical knobs and buttons. All of your center screen controls, so your audio, your menu, how to pull up your nav, you want to pull up like your settings, you want to skip songs, all that stuff is physical buttons.
It is still a touch screen.
It is still a touch screen. It's a wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto screen. It's a good size. It's not too big for the space. It's definitely not too small.
I think it fits in really well with the area. I will say, like, the dials at the bottom, function-wise, are great.
They're almost like angled down.
They're angled down, weird. They're tucked away, they don't come off the wall very much, and they kind of feel a little cheap.
You can wiggle them a little bit, which is kind of to be expected. The dials up here feel great. You can also wiggle them a little bit, but the clicks are really nice. Like when you rotate the dial, the rotary clicks.
Let me get in position because turn. Oh, you're going. Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna go. It's cool, man.
Oh, you piece of can't cuss. I'm not cussing.
What you get always so like freaked out when I.
Damn, this car does sound good though. It has no business sounding that good. Oh my god.
When it gets up high in the rev range, it starts really screaming.
Wiggly to the side though? I see what you're talking about with the body roll.
It's got great acceleration. It's a very comfortable car.
Right.
Plenty of power. The one downfall of this car, and we'll talk about it later. No, we'll talk about it now. The one down...
Well, no, mention it now, but let's talk in depth about it later, because that was the first time I've ever felt that.
Yeah, but there's something I don't like about the suspension, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit when you're driving it, because I know you just felt it, and that's why you're, oh my God. The suspension is both great and not, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, so let's dig into that later. I will say, now that I've tested it, the handle here, very good for being scary.
Very good.
I'm scared. Back to the center dash. Quality is super solid.
Yeah.
Got no problem with that.
Piano black.
At the end of the day, it's Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. I don't give a shit about the menu system.
Yeah, but unlike another car that we recently reviewed, the menu system in here is actually quite
totally
good.
Fine. It kind of gives me hotel display vibes or something like that.
Yeah.
I got no problems with that, but nobody's going to really use that when they're got Android Auto and all.
Yeah.
Driver dash. You have spent way more time driving this car. Tell me about what you think about the dash.
I've put nearly 500 miles on this car.
Right. You have...
That is a Skyline. Check the 360 cam. That is an R32 Skyline.
You are correct. Look at our 360 camera. Day one coming in use. That dude's on the wrong side of the car.
It's a right-hand drive Japanese imported car.
Anyway, driver dash.
Driver dash, all digital. I really like it. Very clear display. There's lots of like screens and things in here that are really nice.
You said there were 3 modes to have, and you like one of them more than others. Show me the modes.
So there's 3 different modes. There is the Sport, the Normal, and the Enhanced. The Enhanced is weird. It's kind of a 3D digital model on the sides for both your speed and your revs.
I do not like the wheel being like that.
It looks a little weird. Now, if you don't give two shits about looking at your dash a lot, and you want, like, the benefit of this screen is, like, your tire pressure monitoring system's really big. Your nav screen is really big. So, like, if you're navigating somewhere with the onboard GPS, those directions will show up on here.
Oh, okay.
Which is really nice.
So there's a use for putting your tags on, or your infos on the sides.
Yeah, correct.
I get that.
Now, the one that I find myself driving in the most is the normal one.
Okay.
It's very classic. It's 2 dials, DM on
I
the
like
left,
that
speed
way
on the right.
more than enhanced, 100%.
Yeah, it's really clear, it's concise, it shows you what you need to know, and the menus in the middle, again, are pretty solid. Now, the one I like when I'm really pushing the car, when I've been up in the mountains kind of driving like a hooligan, is this guy right here, the Sport mode.
I take that back, that's the best one.
It is. It's just the best one. It's got the revs in the center, your speedos in the top right, you've got that beautiful classic Z logo, and you can kind of see it's not only in the middle, but all the way out to the edges of the screen as there's those lines.
I would never drive in it, and that's just changing that screen, right?
Correct.
It's not, okay, yeah.
There are no modes to the car, that's just the screen. Now this screen is like, if you're spiritedly driving, that's the one I'm gonna recommend. Obviously, you've got your engine oil temp, water temperature, your differential temperature, which is rare. You don't normally see that in a lot of cars.
That's pretty cool.
And then your engine oil pressure, which all of them are gauge readouts and digital. So you can see the actual number. You're not just guessing as to what the gauge is doing.
Very cool.
There's the tire pressure monitor on the left. You can change over to a digital boost gauge, although you have an analog one.
Right.
But if you don't want to look over there, like today we have a bunch of cameras, it's hard to see. I'll put my boost gauge over there.
Oh, I like the option of being able to have it digitally if you want that, for sure. That's
exactly.
Cool.
We've got the G-force gauge, so we'll do some wiggles while we have the G-force gauge.
Oh, it moves! Oh my God, dude, I would wreck.
Yes.
I would wreck.
You would play with that all day. And then we'll test the brakes here in a second, because you made me do that last time.
Oh, you. Oh, God.
That's from 40.
Oh, shoot. All right, guys. We don't have the best car for super speedy seat swap, but that does not matter because we're doing it anyway.
Now, one thing I will warn you about as we're about to do this is the visibility out of the passenger side of the car is terrible.
I will keep that in mind. All right, so what are you doing? Cheater? Cheater!
Hold on, let's make sure the door's unlocked.
Door's unlocked, seat belt, super speedy, seat swap, on your mark. God damn. All right, on your mark, get set. Go.
You act like I ain't gonna lose.
Yeah. I went wide.
Oh, I might not lose.
Was it worth it? Oh my God, no! No! What is happening?
Ow, I win my elbow.
Did you do something with this?
No. I won the race, but I may have lost my elbow. Yeah, I win one, finally.
All right, so I'm gonna change the seat, and I do that on the right side of me, which is the
So that's been a thing since the 350 and the 370Zs.
Right.
The electronic adjustment is center console oriented, where your height and your lumbar are gonna be on your left. Oh yeah, and I will say, I do have my hat here, my super sick
yeah, you don't have enough room.
my On Four Wheels hat, coming soon possibly to our maybe merch store.
Possibly. Also, speaking of hats, thank you for reminding me, I have something special for this video.
You do, I forgot about it.
So, fancy car, fancy hat.
Oh, the swag.
Quick, long story short, you guys know we have a bigger TikTok and Instagram channel than we do YouTube, and apparently TikTok's trying to push product placement and so they give you like a coupon and you can buy products to push on your TikTok page, and I did, and I bought this.
Oh, almost stalled it, but you got it. Well, a little bit of wheel spin. I love it.
We're not gonna run into the Kia. Oh!
There's the auto blip downshift.
Dude, that makes this car able for idiots like me to be. I wouldn't be scared to buy a manual car, even though I know I'm not good at that.
So we'll talk about the couple little interior things that matter. So again, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It is also wired. We've got a USB-C up front and a USB-A. On the passenger footwell, similar like what we saw in the NSX, but we didn't notice it till afterwards, is there's a 12-volt outlet down there.
It's really hidden on the passenger side.
It's way down there. Now, in the center console, there is another 12-volt outlet. And then also, you can see here we've got one cup holder, but the center console slides back to reveal the second.
Speaking of that 007 stuff, that's some James Bond right there.
I like that there's a hidden cup holder because I can have the armrest forward and it's more comfortable for me.
Having the option's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if it was just me in this car, bro, it'd have been a week before I found that cup holder. Give me your synopsis of driving the Z in a spirited manner.
So, I think what this car does best.
Oh my God, that's literally a cop.
Bro.
Ah!
Oh, idiot just pulled out in front of us and we almost died. Love these brakes though.
Okay.
Love these brakes. You good?
I'm fine.
I'm not the only one that scares Chase. He scares himself all the time.
Pass a cop redlining and then about run into a SUV. All right. Driving experience. I have not spiritedly driven this car. You have. Give me your quick synopsis of driving this thing sporty, because I imagine most people that get this car are going to drive it sporty. It is a sporty looking car.
Yeah.
It sounds good.
So from a sporty perspective, I think the biggest thing about it is it has a really good engine. It's got plenty of power. It's got good brakes. The differential's fantastic. It's a 1.5-way mechanical clutch style differential. It has all these great performance sport car things. This is a performance model, but the suspension, in my opinion, is way too soft. Now, that being said, cruising around comfortably day to day, doing regular driving stuff, cruising on the freeway, even driving spiritedly, it is really, really good. There's a lot of body roll. You can change that by changing out a couple of different pieces and adjusting some stuff. But when you really start to push it up in the mountains and like really, really push it hard.
Like when we were back there and I was like, oh, I felt it for the first time. That was the first time I had actually felt the car kind of shifting to the side.
Yeah, in a way that it shouldn't.
So we were having this conversation earlier about GT cars, Grand Touring cars. They need to be in this kind of like middle ground of, it needs to be able to have that performance and that fun to drive, but you also have to have the comfort if you want to be considered like that style car, and you do have to sacrifice on both ends to meet in the middle. Because if you want super performance, it's not going to be comfortable, but you're going to be able to perform, right?
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing, is like same thing with the seats. They're fairly comfortable and they're fairly sporty. This suspension can handle a fair bit of sporty driving, but when you start really pushing to like the limits of these tires, that suspension being so soft, it sacrifices performance for the sake of comfort, which again, the majority of the, probably 90% of the time you're gonna drive this car is exactly like that big bump right there, is exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't like just shake the entire car. You guys might have been able to even see it from the cameras. This road section is terrible and bumpy as hell. And normally we can see the cameras just violently shaking. But in this car, I feel like it's smoothed out quite a bit, especially for a performance car.
Yeah, and that's what makes it a GT car, is the blend of comfort and performance. So if it was me, I would probably change the suspension out a little bit, and I would change the tires out, and I think this thing would be perfect.
Anything else about the driving experience?
I really love the clutch in this car. I know we've talked about it with both the Mustang and the Camaro, how good those clutches were. But I really love where the friction point is on this clutch. It's not too heavy. It's not super light like a lot of modern sports cars. Another thing about this clutch is it's got a hill hold, which is fantastic. The throw feels really good. It's not too stiff. It's not too light. And the friction point is like smack in the middle.
Okay, so coming onto the highway, this is going to be where I really have to stay focused on these shifts.
Yeah.
Because
you want to be shifting, you want to probably start your shift progress just past 6,000 RPM.
Right. Okay. 6,000. Oh shoot. All right.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to run it out.
Hold on, Petty.
Here we go, boys. It revs so fast, you kind of have to start shifting earlier than you think you would need to.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna stop that now. That is exhilarating, and God, I wish I was better at it because the car deserves it. Fourth gear is long.
Yeah.
I like fourth gear.
Yeah, the upper couple of gears are quite long, which again, it makes this a great highway cruiser.
I was gonna say, like, that makes 1, 2, and 3 like your fun in town stuff.
Yep.
But I still get all of the benefit up here on the highway. So we're in fourth gear, chilling at 80. I would be fine with this, but
I mean, on a bike, you're definitely going to want to do that. In a car, you don't want to have it revved up that high.
well, no, but like I'm talking like enjoyment wise, like it ain't too loud. And now we're in 6, chilling.
And yeah, cruising.
This is where the T part in Grand Touring comes in.
Yeah.
You can have a car that has the capability, I'm kind of looking at it as first, second, third, and then you get up on the highway, pop this boy all the way into 6, and bro, I'm chilling. All right, so now we're on the highway. I have cruise control set, cool.
Does not lane center. It does lane monitor.
Okay.
So it's got blind spot monitor, it's got lane keep monitoring, but it's not an assist. It's not going to pull you back.
Right.
It has rear cross traffic alert.
Okay.
Which is something very common with blind spot monitors these days. It's got auto distance cruise control, so the radar guided cruise control. You can set it wherever. You can set the distance.
That's kind of cool because with the NSX, if you guys watch that, we'll have a link in the description if you haven't. But supercar, not a lot of creature comforts. No. So it's nice to have a sporty car with some of those creature comforts because, again, we're wanting to have the ability to tour on this thing if we want to.
Yeah, and like I've got plenty of leg room, 6'3", 325 pounds. We've got 6.9 cubic feet of trunk space behind us.
That we have access to.
We have access to. You can just reach back and grab it. The car does come with a cargo net as well as like a first aid kit standard with the car. Right. That cargo net used to secure stuff in that trunk because it's an open hatch design. Like earlier I had my backpack back there. We launched it, backpack went flying, we slammed on the brakes,
backpack went flying.
So having that cargo net's gonna hold everything down, which is great. I love that they included it because they know it's a thing that has to happen.
Yeah, you kind of have to have that. If you want to actually use that, can you imagine groceries back there? Most of the time you're not gonna go to the grocery store and then do a launch.
Yeah, go launch it red light to red light.
I mean, but like maybe, I'm not telling you what to do.
I mean, I'm an idiot, I would do it.
All right, any other creature comfort things about this car that we need to hit on before we get to the outside?
Really, it's visibility. Without all the cameras, you have good visibility going forward. I feel like the mirrors do a really good job. They're very tall. They're not very wide. The NSX mirrors were very, very wide. I like that you can see the hips is what I call it of this car.
It looks like little hips on the back.
Yeah, it looks great.
I will say, I don't feel like I have a lot of horizontal or vertical real estate in the front.
Not a ton. Better than the Camaro, not as good as the Mustang.
Agreed. Definitely want more. Not that I need to see up more.
You have plenty going down because the nose kind of drops away from you. So it can be hard to judge when you're parking it. Thankfully, it has parking sensors. When you're looking at a red light that you're really close to, like I find myself ducking down a lot, which is not ideal, and then this blind spot over here is god-awful terrible. When you turn to like head check the passenger side, all you're looking at is black.
So the blind spot monitors are like a little light built into the door panel. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan, and they're not really that bright. I just don't they don't catch my attention as well as other cars have.
It does have a pretty decent audible beep.
Also, side note, before we end, the little rotational adjustments on my seat on the left side.
Yep, for up and down.
They feel archaic.
Yeah, they're not great. And once you're sitting in the seat, they're kind of hard to adjust without like picking your weight up.
I noticed that earlier when I was doing my little test drive around. I was like, this is not, because like I've got the electronic on one side.
Yeah.
So it's like, why
is it some electric, some not?
Yeah, like give me all electric. I'm lazy.
Yeah. Now,
that was the beep.
That was the beep. Yep,
nice.
That's the blind spot monitor. So like it's, you know, not super loud, but it gets your attention.
Right. But yeah, I feel it's giving roll-up windows.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
Now the windows are pretty good in this. They're all automatic. It's a frameless door, so they kind of open a little bit when you open the door, and then when you close it, they go up a little bit. Yep. The home link on the mirror is good. It is an auto-dimming mirror, which is great. And we do have an SOS button for like the Nissan assisted services up here.
Before we do get done with the drive section, you were talking about how this car has got fun power, but it is underpowered for what it is capable of. Can you talk quickly about that?
If you look at the dyno sheet for this engine and the torque curve, they state that they make 350 foot-pounds of torque from 1500, 1600-ish RPM all the way well up into 5000 RPM. And that line is flat, which tells me that they've got it tuned that way on purpose.
Right.
I don't know if it's for reliability. I don't know if there may or may not be a Nismo version on the horizon. In the event they do a Nismo, they will typically add some performance parts. I think they would bump the power with this engine. And I think that they're probably building that headroom into the reliability of this engine so that they can increase the power later.
All right, let's get off the road, and that way we can talk about the outside of the car, because this is a cool looking car. Soft and smooth. See, you're welcome.
Oh man.
The Z. We're here.
We are.
In the front. All right, front of the car. Now we're outside. We can take a look at the actual looks of the vehicle. What you got on the front?
So front end of this thing, very divisive. On the internet, in photos, I'm not a huge fan.
Okay.
Seeing it in person, I love it. Things I really love about the front bumper, the shape itself, it's growing on me. I love the headlights. Mm-hmm. When the DRLs are on, it really kind of emphasizes that old round.
Like circly boys?
Yep, it emphasizes the old round look. And I love the bulge on the hood. You saw it on the outgoing model, you saw it on the 350Z HRs. Kind of keeps that stylistic going, and it's a trait that was on the original cars.
The only thing I don't like about the front is that the two circles in the headlights don't connect. It irks me a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's the only thing that kind of gets to me as far as looks goes in the front of the car. Anything specific that we need to point out for the peeps?
So things specific, you got your radar cruise control guy down there. This is a performance model, so you're gonna see on the side, the back, and the bottom of this front bumper here, this little matte black little lip. They call it a front spoiler.
Gotcha.
And then this logo. Nissan, guys, this isn't it. The silver and the white is not it.
Yeah, the car is better than the logo, which should never be the case.
Yeah, I love the rebrand of the new logo. Mm-hmm. The 24 logo is really, really cool. I don't like how they did the white in the logo. If it lit up, it would be really cool,
right.
But it doesn't.
So it's not.
The white doesn't make sense with the rest of this car.
The white's not whitened.
Yeah.
I think the side looks better. Do you want to talk about the side now?
I 100% agree the side looks better.
Let's go this way. All right, Pat. Here's my personal opinion on the side of the Z. This shape is the heritage of this car.
Yeah, 100%.
If they don't have this shape, it's not a Z to me.
I 100% agree. The shape of this is very, very distinct. The long nose front, the kind of sharper angle of the windshield, and then that arch that goes all the way back, accentuated by that silver piece we see there. They're actually calling that the katana blade.
This boy?
Yep, which is super cool. It's on both sides of the car. This shape is essential Z as far as I'm concerned.
100%.
I agree with you. If it's not there, it's not a Z.
Gotcha. Tell us about the wheels.
So the wheels, we've got super high-end Rays forged alloy wheels. They're 19 inches front and back.
Right.
It is a staggered setup like we said in the video. So you got a 245 Bridgestone Potenza S007 on the front, and you've got a 275 of that same tire on the rear.
And then obviously you guys, it's kind of hard to miss the red brakes.
The beautiful, massive 4-pot front brake calipers, beautiful red Nissan logo on them. They are Akebono, which if you know anything about the 350Z, 370Zs, Even the Nismos, the Akibono brakes have been a longtime partner of Nissan's.
These brakes work absolutely well. Those kind of hips that we were talking about that you can see in the rearview mirrors, that is located here because the car has like kind of a bulge situation going on here.
Yeah, the rear fender flare's got a little bit of a bulge out, kind of gives you that good hip logo. Now, comparative to like the Mustang, the Camaro, like an M2 or a Supra, it is a much thinner car wide body wise, so it doesn't have big fender flare arches,
right?
Things like that. It's very subtle, and I'm a fan of the subtlety.
What do you think about the door?
The inlay door handles, I love that. Very classic, super good look. You see it. Similar door handles on like C5, C6 Corvettes.
Right. It fits in with the overall shape of the car really well.
Yeah.
So I love that nobody cares about a door handle unless it's either invisible or does something cool invisible.
Yeah, this one's practically invisible. It works really well. I like that the keyhole's right there. It's really small.
Right.
It's not yelling at you or anything. I do love the two-tone color. How do you feel about that?
I'm totally down. I get that this is all like Katana vibes, and I get that there's a couple other pieces of silver, but if you're asking me, if I owned this car, I'd probably take it to my wrap guy and I'd get a blackout package ASAP, in my personal opinion.
I would leave it just because it's a heritage thing. Again, like when we talked about with the Bullet Mustang is the chrome around the windows.
Right.
It's a heritage thing. I think it belongs on the car.
But overall, like the blue and black, I'm totally here for. Obviously, we have the Z logo. Anything else here on the side before we go to the back?
So speaking of the Z logo, that is actually the classic Z logo. So that is, they used it on the 240 and the 260Zs. They changed it on the 280Z, and it's been different since then.
Okay.
And they're finally back to the original logo style.
So maybe that's kind of like Nissan's going back old school with the car, going old school with the logo.
Heritage. And they did open, just a couple years ago, Nissan opened their heritage like part of their brand. Okay. So like if you have, like we saw an old Skyline,
right.
If you have an old Skyline, old classic Nissans, you can still buy those parts. They're remaking them now. The final thing I will say about the side of the car is about the color.
Okay.
So this is called S-E-I-R-A-N, Sidon.
Okay.
Blue.
Okay.
Sidon is Japanese for blue orchid.
Thank you for that info.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia for you.
Speaking of orchids, it's a stretch. Let's go to the back. Do orchids have backs?
Technically, there's a back of an
Get
orchid.
over here. Get it.
That's not good.
I'm reaching, okay? I'm reaching.
You're reaching. That's the truth.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Well,
speaking of orchids, which I imagine are a beautiful flower, the rear of this car is my favorite.
What about the rear of this car is your favorite?
I don't really know, but from what I can tell,
it's my favorite, and I don't know why.
Basically, the blue for one, I think is a great blue.
Yeah,
I think Nissan absolutely killed the blue.
100%.
I do think that's one of the reasons we get so many looks in this car.
Yeah.
The piano black, I don't know if it's piano black, the glossy black mixed with these tail lights.
So good.
It is a I kind of dig that futuristic yet retro vibe.
Neo-retro is what it's called.
Neo-retro, whatever the word is. I feel like this tail embodies neo-retro to me, and I love the hell out of it.
Yeah, I love it. I love these taillights. The shape of them when they're lit up, you'll see them right now.
Thank you, Bo.
Thanks, Bo. Love you, bro. If this was like a movie made in the 80s about the future, that's what the taillights on the future car would look like.
That's fair. The only thing I would change...
I don't know if that made any sense.
The logo. Let us know in the comments.
Again, the logo, because it's terrible.
The only thing I would change is, again, I would get this... Let's just say I just bought it. I would go to my wrap guy. I would get the Katana piece blacked out. I would get the old school logo and the Nissan logo, and I would get them painted like powder coated like matte black or something, just to stand off from the gloss black. The exhaust looks intentional to be there. The lights with the black bar look intentional. I would want, basically the reason for blacking those emblems out would be so I could draw more eyes to the lights. Because I think the lights, the whole tail section, like I said, with this whole like big black section.
The back third of the car is just fantastic. I do like kind of the black bar they brought up on the bottom of the bumper. It's kind of a very sporty look. You've got a little bit of edging, like kind of...
It just gives you some lines to appreciate, because it's so easy for a bumper to just be like, let me just...
Yeah, and they do the same thing on the Nissan, the Ariya, which makes the back of that car look really good.
Very cool. We get to talk about the trunk, and the button for the trunk, we've both had a little bit...
We've debated it a little bit.
So to get into the trunk, we've got the Nissan logo. It is kind of inlaid in here, and you can press the button, and the trunk opens, but you'll guys notice the button is down here, and the bottom of the trunk is here. So what's happened for both of us,
every time I hit the button, I try to like, I start
and we even know at this
it.
point, like we've literally put camera gear and stuff back here. We know that
better.
the button is not the bottom of the trunk, but like
it's the natural kind of.
Yeah, you hit the button, you want to pull. So that's kind of weird. What do you think about the openness of the trunk? I kind of love the utility of this.
So yeah, so something that like the 350Z and the 370Zs also had is a really open trunk kind of hatch
or a
situation.
play space for a child.
Or a play space for a child, as discussed previously.
Whatever you need it for.
And I love that there are tie downs in here for that cargo mat.
And there's tie downs all over the place down here, which is fantastic. If you're going to use this for groceries, which you should, I think it works out fantastic to hold everything down. Then you can just yeet it around.
Yeah. Now, my one thing is it's a very large opening. Like, there's a ton of room to get a larger object, a big flat object in there, no problem.
On our NSX video, somebody asked, was the trunk space big enough for a sheet cake? I can say confidently this is big enough for a sheet cake.
A couple of them.
If we get a comment on this video that asks if this car is big enough to hold a sheet cake, we will start testing that. And I think it would be hilarious. It has to be a comment, and it has to be the most upvoted comment down below. You have to mention a sheet cake, and if somebody has already mentioned it, you need to thumb it up. If we see that comment, next review, we'll do a sheet cake. God help us.
My one gripe about the trunk is it's a really weird shape.
Especially with these little side areas.
Yeah, that's the rear strut towers.
Yeah, that kind of messes up the bigness of it. Because if without these here, you'd have a really big square.
I really like it. It's the same that was in the 350 and the 370. This one in particular is 6.9 cubic feet.
Decent amount of space for a coupe that is a sporty coupe.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, for the Acura was 4.4.
Wow. So like 50% more space.
It's way bigger.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else about the space area?
No, I think we're good there.
Because it looks like a spaceship. Nailed it. Anything else from the rear of the car? Gone? All right. So since Patrick's gone, we'll head to the front of the car and do our final thoughts. He's walking off. He's gone. All right, I'll go to the front then. Pat, we gotta do the outro. Can just for the outro, just for the outro.
Listen, you're not even a dad. You can't be making dad jokes, my guy.
Yes, I can. All right, Nissan Z.
Not 400Z,
just Z.
not 350, not 300Z, because that's been a thing.
Nothing
just
crazy.
The Z.
What are your final thoughts on the Z?
I love this car genuinely. Of the ones we've tested outside of the Mustang, it's probably the one I'm closest to buying.
Really? Okay.
Like if someone was like, you could have the Z or my Tundra.
Mm-hmm.
It's real close.
As far as I go, I love the look. Like this is one of my favorite looking cars that we've done. The only thing that kind of puts me off with this, and it's not a fault of the car, it's of me, it's that quick revving does make it a little more challenging to do the manual. So if
You'll get used to it. That's something that
I would imagine. I'm only basing that off the 2 days that I've spent driving this thing around. I love that it's in a compact package. I love that it's that mixture of you get the comfort, you get the sport, you get it in a very sporty looking package.
Very retro. It turns heads.
Totally here for. I would like, so another one of my huge things, if I'm gonna buy a vehicle, I want to be excited to see that vehicle when I walk out to it. And every time I walk out to this thing, especially if it's from the rear, bro, I'm like.
So what's the old adage of you know you bought the right car when every time you walk away from it, you look back at it?
Right, 100% would happen with this car.
Yeah.
I'm totally sold. If I could drive a manual better, I think I would like the car better.
Okay, so what's your favorite thing?
The looks, honestly. The looks, I get so excited every time I see the car that it makes me want to grab my camera and go do photos. So like for me, that's it.
Yeah, I think for me it's I don't want to say like the overall package, but it's very rare to me that I find a car that does so many things so well.
Yeah.
I would daily something like this, no problem.
Right.
I think probably my favorite thing, I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's the styling, that retro, neo-retro heritage styling is incredible. What's your least favorite thing?
Kind of hit on it, just the revving. I like my motorcycles fast revving. I don't like my cars as fast.
I wonder if you would like it better with the auto.
I probably would. Actually, I'm glad we don't have the auto, because I don't have the money for a car, and that would make me have a problem.
Yeah.
I think if I got the auto just because I am how I am, I would have, and especially with my wife loving Z cars.
Yeah.
Bro, it'd
Oh,
be
with the auto, it's got a flappy paddle, so it's still fun.
sold. It's just, all right, I'm sold on that.
Oh, we got to go to the dealership now.
Yeah.
My least favorite thing.
Yes.
My least favorite thing is probably the first thing I would change about the car if I got it. It's the suspension.
I had a feeling you were going to say suspension.
And it's
but
honestly,
it's
not
editable.
that it's not that it's bad. It's just for what I want to do with the car.
Yeah, you want to customize the suspension to be exactly what you want it to be. And guys, that's going to bring us to the end of this On Four Wheelers review of the 2023 Nissan Z. If you guys enjoyed this video, always make sure to hit that like button. Drop us a comment of what you thought about the car or the video in the description down below.
Subscribe,
and when you do,
hit the bell notification, all
Do
the
all
YouTube
that.
stuff, please. I know everyone on YouTube says it helps a ton.
No, it really does though.
I wish I could show you the analytics of how much it helps. It means the world to us.
Especially if you guys got to the end of the video. You watched a long video.
Yeah,
we would super appreciate
40-ish minutes with us, probably. I don't know, Bo, you tell me. Do us the favor, please. I would very much appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, obviously it helps us get more cars to do more reviews for you guys, and lets us keep having a good time doing what we're doing. I'm Chase.
I'm Patty Rick.
And we will see you guys on the next drive, which will be something hopefully with a sheet cake. Later.
Hold on, outro crew. OC to the gang that's still here.
Put OC in whatever comment you're gonna make. All right, this video is long. Bye.